The heat of the Egyptian sun was stifling, but inside the grand halls of Potiphar's estate, all was calm. The polished floors gleamed, and tapestries hung from the high ceilings, marking the wealth and power of Potiphar, captain of Pharaoh's guard. His servants moved in silent efficiency, including one in particular who had caught the eye of the lady of the house, Joseph. Joseph was no ordinary servant. A Hebrew, sold into slavery by his brothers, he had risen quickly in Potiphar's household. His intelligence, his diligence, and above all, his striking good looks had earned him Potiphar's trust. He managed everything, from the household's finances to its daily operations. But it was not his skill with numbers or his organizational prowess that captured Potiphar's wife's attention. No, it was Joseph himself, the way he moved, the way he carried himself, a man of purpose in a world of indulgence. Potiphar's wife watched him, her gaze lingering longer than it should have. It started as a curiosity but soon festered into something more dangerous, an obsession. She was used to getting what she wanted, accustomed to power, accustomed to bending others to her will. She lived in a world where desire was satisfied with a command. But Joseph was different. One afternoon, as the servants went about their tasks and Potiphar was away on official business, she made her move. "Joseph!" Her voice echoed down the corridor. He entered her chambers, his brow furrowed in concern. "Yes, my lady." She smiled, a slow, deliberate smile that sent a chill down his spine. "Come, lie with me," she said, her words as smooth as the silk that draped over her shoulders. She stood, moving closer, her perfume filling the air. To her, this was a simple request, nothing more than another indulgence of her desires. But Joseph recoiled, his face a mixture of shock and horror. "How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" His words were firm, his resolve unshakable. He wasn't just refusing her as a servant to a master, he was refusing her as a man devoted to righteousness. His loyalty was to his master, Potiphar, and more importantly, to God. Her eyes darkened. No one had ever denied her before. No one. Day after day, she pursued him, her advances growing bolder, her impatience sharpening like a blade. And day after day, Joseph stood firm. The rejection stung her pride, and slowly, that sting turned to a simmering rage. She wasn't just a woman scorned, she was a woman desperate to assert her dominance, to reclaim the control she felt slipping through her fingers. Then came the day when everything unraveled. The house was quiet. Potiphar's wife knew the other servants were out, and once again, she found Joseph alone, attending to his duties. She approached him with the same proposition, but this time, she wasn't asking, she was demanding. Joseph tried to leave, but she grabbed him by his cloak, pulling him toward her. "Lie with me," she hissed, her voice thick with frustration. In that moment, Joseph knew that words would no longer work. He turned and fled, leaving his cloak in her grasp as he ran out of the house. But Potiphar's wife, humiliated, furious, saw an opportunity to twist the narrative. She held the cloak close, her mind already weaving a lie that would destroy Joseph's life. She screamed, and as the servants rushed in, she held up the garment, her face twisted in false distress. "Look," she cried. "This Hebrew slave tried to force himself on me. When I screamed, he fled, leaving his cloak behind." The lie was as sharp as a serpent's bite. When Potiphar returned, he believed his wife's story without question. How could he not? Her tears, her fear, all carefully staged. Joseph was thrown into prison, his integrity shattered by a lie. But for Potiphar's wife, there was no victory in this. She had removed Joseph from her sight, yes, but at what cost? Her heart was a tomb of bitterness, her soul twisted by lust, power, and pride. She had taken an innocent man's life and reputation and cast them into darkness, all because she could not bear to be denied. In her world, desire had become more important than honor, and lies more powerful than truth. Joseph, however, was not forsaken by God. Though imprisoned, he rose again, this time even higher than before. God's favor was with him, and in the years to come, Joseph would become the second most powerful man in Egypt, trusted by Pharaoh himself. Meanwhile, Potiphar's wife faded into obscurity, her name and her treachery a footnote in the pages of history, a cautionary tale of lust and betrayal. In the end, her sin wasn't just the desire for a man, it was the willful destruction of truth, the abuse of power, and the pride that refused to bow to righteousness. She was one of the bad girls of the Bible not because of a moment of weakness, but because of her calculated choice to ruin an innocent life for her own gain. The outcome of her sin lingered long after Joseph's imprisonment. Potiphar, once so trusting of Joseph, was left with the lingering shame of his wife's deception. And for her, there was no redemption, only the hollow satisfaction of a fleeting victory built on lies. You've just uncovered one of the most pivotal stories in our Bad Girls of the Bible series, where we dive deep into the choices that shaped history. Don't let the lesson stop here. Like this video if it gave you a fresh perspective, share it with others who need to hear these powerful truths, and subscribe to follow the rest of the series. Each story will challenge you, inspire you, and strengthen your walk with God. Join us on this journey of faith, where every decision counts.